I went to New York for my treatment. My husband was very clear about it. He said, I don't want to take any chances. And the reason I think I was literally fighting with him. I'm like, my child is young, the womb is here, and we're just picking up. And it was literally in 2 days after the diagnosis that we had packed our bags and we had left. And I didn't know when I was coming back, what was happening, where I was going for. It was just the two of us. We had not really had time to discuss it with too many people, and we had just taken off. He had got the appointments and we had just taken off. So I kept fighting with him, saying that, how can you just stop everything? But when I reached there and I got to know the extent of this, somewhere I did honestly feel, thank God I'm here. I think that comes from the fact that there are a lot of things that now in hindsight I look at, and it was probably an instinct, but where he came from, and as he explains it to me, he said that, I know we would have got great care here, and touch wood, we have the means to, and the connections to, and the relationships where we could tap on people. But the fact remains that we went to a place where this is what they dealt with. The only disease they dealt with was this. So his logic was that if for so many years they're only dealing with cancer and its various types of cancers, so much so that the place that I went to, the entire building was dedicated to just these type of cancers. That means there has to be something in which, when you are obviously doing it constantly for so many hours, there's definitely going to be more data that's collected, there's going to be more intuition that is going to be there. He said, you were at a stage where I did not want to take a chance on this. And in his words, what he said was that I would rather say that, I overthought it and I overreacted, rather than later on feel that I should have done it. He said, I did not want to take that chance. And that was the reason why we went there. It is a disease that is scary, no doubt about it. But, it is not a disease that can be diagnosed very easily. So what I'm understanding, and which obviously here, it's a room full of doctors, and I can't believe I'm sitting here and saying what I'm saying, and I'm talking about it. But I don't know the medical terms of it, and I don't know how you will arrive at the thing. But because I went through it, my journey has been that eventually what I have understood, and to put it down in layman terms, is that early detection is what is the most important thing where this disease is concerned. Because medicine is at a stage where if you detect it early, there needn't be such invasive treatments that we have to go through. Because sometimes, right now, I think the disease is somewhat less scarier than the treatment that you go through. The treatment is actually more frightening and more painful. You feel that sometimes. So, early detection, I think, is what is the most important thing. Had I detected it early, there were more chances. It would cost me less. I would go through less painful treatments. I would have more options in where the treatment was concerned also. So, for me, I didn't know this disease was so prevalent because nobody talks about it. When it happened to me, I realized in my family how many people had had it and had not spoken about it. And I was like, I wish I knew. I wouldn't have thought that, this is never going to happen to me. So, when I put the post out on my social media, because I was doing some work, I did not want any kind of a gossip around it, and my son, children are much more tech savvy. I didn't want him hearing and reading something wrong. So I wanted to put out my story myself. So when I put it out, the response that I got was what was shocking for me. Because there were people from all stratas of society writing into me saying, this is what happened to my aunt, to my grandmother, to my son, to my mom, everybody. And there was no like a niche in society. Every strata of society they were writing in from, and they were discussing it. And suddenly I said, but if this has been so prevalent, why had I not heard of it? And I never knew that this could happen, that it is so rampant. I know we all say that today the pollution, the toxins and etc. Of course they must be affecting it, and they are there. But cancer is something that's been there for the longest time. Probably it was not diagnosed as often. But when so many stories you hear when they talk about their grandmothers and their grandaunts getting it, surviving it or not surviving it, either ways. So obviously it's been around for a long time. Probably it's getting diagnosed better now. But what I realized was that this was something that they were all holding on to, and nobody shared it in their own families. Like there was a mother who told me that, my son went through it. I did not share it with my own mother because, we kept it hidden. We said it was asthma. was like, what? Why would you do that? And it's like, no, how can you share this with people? I'm like, why would you not share it with people? What I realized by sharing was that first I heard that I was not alone, that this was not so unique, I was not so special that only I had got cancer. Everybody gets it and anybody could get it. Secondly, everybody kept saying that how could you get it? You are so healthy, your lifestyle is so good, how could you get it? And I kept asking myself that question, that why have I got it? And then I realized it's genes, it's not something that, definitely if you have the genetic predisposition to it or whatever, your toxins and the environment and the way you lead your life will definitely affect, that will affect for any other illness also. Leading a healthy life is a basic thing for any sort of disease, not just for cancer. So other than that, I realized that I was not alone, that there were a lot of people out there who were not talking about it. So the next post was to thank people for sharing their stories, because it made me feel less alone. It made me feel like part of a community. And then the stories, what I started putting out was more of saying, thank you for sharing, and the fact that, why are we not talking about it? Because what I found when I shared it was that I got a lot of love. I got so much of love that I didn't know I had so much of love. I didn't know so many people cared about me. So that was one thing that I realized, and I thought that was a great thing to realize. Even if I died, at least I would have died knowing that I was loved so much. So it was a great way to go there.